you ever been an actual accountant, there's no skill set. It's not a matter of learning. Oh, well. I said my piece on all of this before. Right. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's not okay though for you.
there's a conflict and they immediately jump in. And it sounds like a really great program that they've done. We've got one right here. So, I mean, and besides the open itself, makes it
Actually, you had 통 두개 말하고
Looks okay.
Then 공수 리와드는 제대로 된 데이터.
Okay.
Unmute? Don't unmute.
Click the don't show it again.
Later, okay.
Good morning, everyone. And all you people out there in Zoom land. Turn to page 1 in the prayer book and we'll begin. All Mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness, may they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Buddhahood. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. All sentient beings, limitless as the sky, take refuge in the glorious, kind Lama Vajradhara, the embodiment of the body, speech, mind, qualities, and activities of the Buddhas of the 10 directions and the 3 times, source of the 84,000 categories of the teaching, and Lord of the Sanghas. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the Idams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Refuge of all sentient beings without exception, divine subjugator of terrifying Maras together with their hosts of demons, the one who understands all realities without exception exactly as they are, transcendent conqueror together with your disciples, please come here to this place. The ground is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountain, the 4 continents, and the sun and moon. As a Buddha field I offer it. May all sentient beings attain the happiness of the Buddha fields. Whatever merit I've gathered through prostrations, offerings, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate. Okay, and then turn to page 11. Namo, to the Lama of utterly pure appearance and existence, I offer the fundamental ground of appearance and existence. I supplicate you to thoroughly liberate the 3 realms. Please grant your blessings and overturn the depths of samsara. Sublime Master, wish-fulfilling jewel, crown ornament, the inconceivable, inexpressible mind of the victorious ones, the one endowed with the 5 wisdoms of omniscience, gracious one, the embodiment of love, precious protector of beings, I supplicate you from within the essence of mind. Please grant your blessings from within the innate nature. Please bless me that I may realize the Dharmakaya that is beyond intellect, this primordially unborn, completely pure mind. Transcendent conqueror, the one thus gone, foe destroyer of afflictive emotions, completely perfected Buddha, endowed with logic and virtue, the one gone to bliss, knower of the world, captain, tamer of beings, the unexcelled teacher of gods and men, I respectfully prostrate, completely touching my head to the stainless feet of the unequaled Shakya king. At the time of your birth, leader of 2-legged beings, taking 7 steps on this great earth, you proclaimed, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise even then, I prostrate. Possessing a body of complete purity, your sublime form is excellent. An ocean of primordial wisdom, you are like a golden mountain. The one whose renown is evident throughout the 3 worlds, protector of supreme attainment, to you I prostrate. To you who are endowed with the supreme marks, whose face is like an immaculate moon, to you, the one with a complexion like gold, I prostrate. A flawless one such as you among the 3 levels of existence is most exquisite. Unparalleled, omniscient one, to you I prostrate. Supreme among humans, captain of those to be tamed, the one thus gone who severs the all-binding fetters, who with senses pacified is utterly pacified and skilled in peace. To that one, the one who dwelled at Sravasti, I prostrate. Refuge endowed with great compassion, totally omniscient one who indicates the way, ground basis for oceans of merit and qualities, I prostrate to the one thus gone. The pure cause free from attachments, the virtue that liberates from the lower realms, the altogether supreme ultimate truth, to the pacifying Dharma I prostrate. Having been liberated, they also reveal the path to liberation. Thoroughly respectful of the 3 higher trainings, they are a field of sublime qualities. To the Sangha I also prostrate. And back to page 9.
Namo Nase Namdai Ge Lama Lai Nase Sheshen Suen Chobangu Ankang Soy Yonde De Sorwa De Korwa Tongto Se Jenje Lo Jiye Anurwa Zoge Jen Masan Jumi Jarve Do Anjembe Yeshe Ngadan Den Sewe Doni Kati Jen Ndrowa Jumze Rinpoche Lasem Nye Jen Ane Zorwa Des Nyi Jen Ande Jenje Lo Semdo Ne Jeme Namdan De Londe Chugu Dobara Jenje Lo Jom Dende Dejen Shekwa Ada Jomba Yanda Para Zobe Sangye Rekwa Dan Shazan Demba Lewa Yekwa Shikten Jemba Jiven Duwa Ankalo Jurwa Lana Meba Lata Namje Nyame Shaji Jaroi Jabje De Tema Mebala Ango Rade Do De Gwe Janza Lo Ganje Ganye Zo Jodanze De La Comba Dumorane Ngane Jeden Dana Choje Son Nanje Tsen Keba Chela Janze Lo Namda Kunga Chodo Sozanwa
Yeshe Gyatso
Zo Serge Lumbora Araba Jiden Sona
Nangwewa
Gongbo Juni Jela Chanse Lo Tenjo Tenba Timi Davi Xie Serdo Yendawa Jela Chanse Lo Dudere Jude Sabaya Sunanze Nyame Jenjen Jela Chanse Lo Menjo Duwa Kalo Junze Jen Gwenjora Chunwa Junze Dejen Nye O Yedai Nye Shelai Ge Nye Yoi Shogwa Delai Chansa Lo Tong Gong Boi Duje Jeden Ba Tam Jie Jembe Tong Ba Bo Azonai Yonden Janzo Shen Deje Yelai Chansa Lo Antabe Doja Teje Yewe Nyason Le Do Shen Ye De Tondai Jojo Wai Si Jo Chulai Chansa Lo Ojo Ne Dorwe Lo Yang Tong Ba Dalai Rab De Ge Ge Damba Yonden Je Gen De La Yang Chansa Lo
Okay, if I may interrupt for just a moment. I know we have a few people here who are here for the first time. What we just did was what was just spoken was the transliteration from the Tibetan. If you look on page 8 in the prayer book, that's the Tibetan. Okay? The English was the translation of this particular page, and then we have the transliteration, which is just basically the Tibetan
pronunciation.
The Tibetan pronunciation using the English alphabet. Okay? So, turn to page 15. I prostrate to the youthful Manjushri, to those in the worlds of the 10 directions, however many there are, all the lions among humans who appear during the 3 times, to all of them without exception I pay homage with respectful body, speech, and mind. The force of my aspiration prayer for excellent conduct brings all the victorious ones directly to mind. Bowing down with bodies as numerous as atoms in the realms, I prostrate to all the victorious ones. In a single atom there are Buddhas as numerous as atoms, each residing in the midst of their sons and daughters. Like that, I imagine the whole Dharmatatu completely filled with victorious ones. To those with oceans of inexhaustible, praiseworthy qualities, with sounds containing oceans of tones of melodic speech, I express the qualities of all the victorious ones. I praise all the Sugatas. With the finest flowers, the finest garlands, music, ointments, supreme parasols, supreme lamps, and the finest incense, I make offerings to the victorious ones. With the finest cloths, supreme scents, and fine powders equal to Mount Meru, all displayed in supreme and magnificent ways, I make offerings to those victorious ones. With vast and unsurpassable offerings, I venerate all the victorious ones. Through the power of faith and excellent conduct, I prostrate and offer to the victorious ones. Whatever negative actions I have performed with body, speech, and also mind, overpowered by desire, aggression, and stupidity, I confess each and every one of them. I rejoice in everyone's merit, the victorious ones of the 10 directions, the Bodhisattvas, the Pratyeka Buddhas, those in training, those beyond training, and all beings. I request the protectors, the lamps of the worlds of the 10 directions, who, passing through the stages of awakening, attain Buddhahood beyond attachment, to turn the unsurpassable Dharma wheel. I supplicate with my palms joined together those who intend to demonstrate nirvana, to remain for kalpas as numerous as atoms in the realms, for the welfare and happiness of all beings. I dedicate whatever slight virtue is accumulated through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and supplicating to enlightenment.
So maybe we do afternoon Tibet. So maybe
Okay,
16.
okay. And then page 16. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the 2 vehicles and their combination according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
Yamindi gong rinchen ku chan zi mi ju je yin je po dong de tu mu sang je gun je ngu ni rong sam pyo pa mo song tong de bi za we la me shab la ku chan zi Kanda jo jar dong gen je ten na de ge long mu la jar wa kan sa da ten de dong bi ju jen cha ran be ba sam bran do wa tam jen de ye shen na ma ya la ye ge dong lo dong de ji ge zhong da da mi ge nam lo wa gun je de ge je zang ba tam ji ge de da ge ju den do. Good morning. Good morning. Tini da nga tsu lu tang lu ki cholam nga ki cholam yi ji cholam legba songde tini lu nga yi som ke cholam legbo tini yubi na tini nga tsu da ka dewa
So, as is said, we should make every effort to make our activities or our path of conduct, physical conduct, conduct with the body, conduct with speech, conduct with the mind, as wholesome or as pure and as good as possible. So if we have a pure conduct of body, speech, and mind, this inevitably brings the result of well-being and happiness.
Wadati indu tene ti tola tene nga tso gomjaya tene yora wada chi tene general sitting as a meditation labdo ina da within the meditation be mambo yorwa tene chi tamborba hinde shamada ne ya rogoya tene shamada ne ya rogo kabla tene ko chaja chembo oda tike tene chaja chembo 똑같이에서 야 더 정말 용말 치발라 그 루이당 아게 쩌놈 야보지 미위나 베셈로지 탄다 네카브랭 temporarily ngaso namto chi ka tene chi komro ja disro chibu yori ti yinaya ko furthermore chi ngone ke topaji ya 용구 요 말이스 디인도 tene 시 태종도와 제탄 태종을 당가서 general buddhism structure course나 지 기소소 탈비 그 domba 나 창첩 셈케 라바 아송도 tene 다 디가라 직다 상황아세나 야 렘베케 똑같이와 치와라 틴리게 스트럭처로지 메위나야 공가서 단단로지 배 찾아 전본로지 공구요라나 고토광원이 제가 각보레스 디인도 들어가 나기다 히츠르 넘버다 비 해송송도 진가서 단다 미게와주 개와주 드롭 되와디 다 코란 카세나 개침보임바 들어가 나기게다 카세고레 파운데이션으로 히덴 마이 다윈바 트리지 차디요레스 텐데다 텐데 카상마토다 개와주 루심바레 테네 티나노다
미게 루숭기 미게
테네 루 컨트롤심바레스 다 팅나토 티마
So, in like very connected to this, are the practices of meditation. So in general, there are many different types of meditation practice. So, according to the Tibetan tradition, you have the progressive stages of meditation beginning from shamatha, and then gradually that evolves into vipassana, and then gradually into Mahamudra. In order to have a real, in order to get to the point where we can really meditate at an advanced level, a Mahamudra, this requires also having the fundamental practice of pure contact in body and speech, to work on developing the pure conduct of body, speech, and mind. If we don't attend to that and we just do meditation, it's possible that we can temporarily have some peaceful states, and maybe we can kind of our thoughts, we can have some moments of freedom from discursive concepts or thoughts, but to really get to the point, where we can, where we're practicing Mahamudra without that foundation of, adjusting or developing pure conduct of body, speech, and mind, we can't really progress in meditation. The two are very linked. So meditation, to really progress on the path of meditation, requires having this attention to pure conduct of body, speech, and mind. And in general, there's the structure of Buddhism that involves pure conduct, involving the different levels of vows. So we have the outer level vows, which are the pratimoksha vows, or the vows of individual liberation, and then the inner vows of the bodhisattva trainings, the trainings of the bodhisattva or bodhicitta training. And so these, are step-by-step progressive training and conduct and a developing pure conduct, which the outcome of which eventually, united with meditation, is Mahamudra. But without these foundational levels of training, then it would be very difficult to really develop any real experience and realization through meditation. So the foundation for Tsultrim, as they say in Tibetan, or pure conduct, ethical discipline, are the guidelines, observing or adjusting our conduct based on the 10 virtues and the 10 non-virtues. So practicing the 10 virtues, avoiding the 10 non-virtues. And this really becomes the foundation. And so we have what we went through yesterday were the 10 virtues. So we started with the reflection on the 10 virtues. And we also started the reflection on the 10 non-virtues, beginning with the non-virtue of body. So we went through the 3 non-virtues of the body, and where we have left off is with the 4 non-virtues of speech. So that begins on page 14, but I think first we do the recitation. Do we do the recitation first?
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yo tin tin da nga di thanda di ngondo sungdo ngondo yang re ngoyi rang re tin ta samle nga de samgo yo re o ta nga di ji ko beginner nangba chingya la tin di khares kanjis nyamne chi go re la gorwa o tin ta di ngone da beginner chena degiores di ko beginner che tene ngone along the way the word way nyamne chi go yores
Along the way, got it?
nina tianga ko beginner jikbo maimba tene hemba nyamne chi go ya mewa tene marwa ngondo ina
Oh, yeah, okay.
ina ya ko beginner cha de yores tene tiga na ita nga so de 단단 고네 쪽네 tene nga so ta up to the fivefold path of Mahamudra ate tijila naru chudo la so ba tene nga so kapto yan ro yores.
So the path of practice begins with what are referred to as the preliminaries, or the ngondro practices. And as a beginner, we begin from the beginning of the path, and we, it's a step-by-step progression. However, even when we're in the stages, as a beginner of practicing step-by-step the preliminaries or ngondro practices, it doesn't mean that we can't also do other practices at the same time along the way. We can also, but it's very important that together with those other practices, we're still progressing through the step-by-step progressive stages of the path that begin with the different levels of preliminaries, then the fivefold path of Mahamudra, and up to the 6 yogas of Naropa.
다 된다 nga tsuk ngundu program da tanda zamno dana tini yang samle zamgo yorwa namba sarwa tini chigi yore wota kane ngu tso gu gure ro samna tanda tini ngu tso gu yores.
So for those of you who are interested in this Ngundo program, who are doing,
kilabgu yorwa ngundu chut namba nyamna china kandi che gore
right.
Go kane tso gure lagwa hina da tsuksa de chad yores.
So there are many of you who are interested in, you've started your Ngundo, many of you here are doing the Ngundo program, all of you online. So
Ngundo ma the beginner
but there are many people who in general they comment and they're new to Buddhism and they say, where do we start? Where is the beginning? Where do we begin in terms of wanting to do Buddhist practice? And this is where we begin. We begin with the practice of Ngundo, or the preliminaries.
Okay, so we first page first.
And we should also say where we are is with the third of the beginning of the outer preliminaries of the four thoughts that turn the mind. So the third is this karma, cause, and effect. And this is what the recitation is pertaining to, reflecting on karma, cause, and effect.
Okay. Tuje norde jarago rojo alonjo
with the melody. Bound by time, even a king must die, leaving wealth, friends, and family behind. Wherever he goes like a shadow, his karma will follow him along. And so then we can go to page 4, is it 14 or 14? Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
Chubji.
Okay, so somebody.
Would someone like to read on lying?
Page 40, right? 2 to 4. What is that? Not lying.
Yeah, the first is Marube.
No.
Yure. The 4 non-virtues of speech. Dangpo Zun.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, lying. Of all the different types of lying, the heaviest karmic negativity is accrued through lying about the Buddha or the 3 jewels in such a way as to denounce their genuine qualities. Lying to your spiritual teachers or Dharma companions, and lying about your own spiritual attainments. In general, there are 3 categories of lying: making false claims about spiritual attainment, big lies, small lies. making false claims about spiritual attainment. This usually takes the form of putting on airs, pretending to be a realized spiritual being for the sake of fame, name, and gain. It involves claiming to have special powers that you do not have, claiming to have reached a level of attainment you have not reached, misguiding others and urging them to put their faith in you when you are not an adequate source of refuge or reliance. There are many types of charlatans who make a habit of such lies. Big lies. Big lies are lies that have far-reaching consequences. Anything that is said that is untrue with the intention to deceive and manipulate, whether in a political context, a business context, or a personal context. These are lies that have significant impact and are intended to achieve a gain for oneself at the expense of others. Small lies, or white lies as we often say, are told with no real purpose or agenda and are usually rather benign, exaggerating about something, claiming you saw something you didn't, making something up, or adding some extra detail to a story. These are lies that you don't really have anything in particular to gain from, nor are they particularly harmful to others. Regarding the 4 types of direct and residual karmic ripening in the context of lying. With heavy karmic acts of lying, the direct result is taking rebirth in the animal realm or being lied to yourself many times over the course of many lifetimes. B, the residual result that ripens as tendency is that in future lives you have a liking or impulse to tell lies. C, the residual result that ripens as experience is that in the future lives you experience people disrespecting you, not listening to you, and not taking your words seriously. D, the residual result that ripens in the form of environment is that in future lives you are born in places with dull-colored landscapes. You have bad body odor and breath smells foul. Reflecting on the dangers of lying, you can think, I am so fortunate because understanding the truth of karma, cause, and effect, I have the opportunity to consciously apply myself in virtue and avoid non-virtue. Reflecting again and again on the faults and dangers of lying, contemplate in a way that inspires you to take every opportunity you can to avoid the 10 non-virtues.
어떻게 어디 다 당보 I think 테러와 하코고야 돼 개체물에서 개와 가림바다 개와 가림바.
So the first point, or the first thing, is that, we just have to know, we have to understand clearly, what is considered virtue or wholesome and what is considered non-virtue or unwholesome.
Tene not ina be ha kowa jibu peng ma tene nga sota practice yango wiores.
So that's
familiar.
So that's the first step, but then that alone, just knowing, is not enough. The second step is to really put it into action, put it into practice.
다 tende jam비나 tene gomba mai khomba yin zedi tene ji kumdi ji chabina tene ta nga so nga rangyi ki yung wiores.
So then it's through practice or through training that we really, then it sort of becomes automatic. So like the famous verse that says, it's not really meditation so much as habituation, and then once something becomes fully habituated, then that becomes true meditation. The point here being that we're creating the imprint, we're creating the tendency through practice, and then the stronger that becomes, then it becomes automatic.
다 nga so hako urwa benata 뭐지 nga so 20 years nyamne chigi yores. Tindi ta nga so the opening prayer dala dangwar jibida se yaji logo yores. telodita mambochita lo sungyo inche minita chejina pechata go mare ko karsena pechata go mare la niba yang ko afford doji karina do sam go marwa ko rangi lo top yores
de lopa la
lo top yores ta komro wa tindi ji ngazo ta komina te nima je inche minite gewaji drop go do sambanda oje da the dikpaji pango do sampe afford mewe thone penateni sanje tha changjo sambata sola ko rangi thi gang la khato ko gewe galando megewa thi gala megewa la ko kharse megewi ki yul manjo wa ko pe automatically tene do de go yorwa hinda ngacho do ta le thang ba yo marwa ngacho nyom mo ba pe ngacho nyom mo ba automatically le ong gorwa 마도 개베초 히달레고 말와 어때니다티 그 공부고요 살와
So, you know, if for instance if you take the example of like recitation, like reciting, for instance, these opening prayers, if you recite them for many years, you know, like 20 years every day, you know, as we do at the beginning of each of these, Sunday practices, then at one point we memorize them. So
mostly people.
And many of you have that experience, right? Where you've recited these prayers so much that you don't even need to read them. You just like know them. And so it's the same with.
And also not need effort.
And you don't need to put any effort into it. And it's the same with practicing virtue and abandoning non-virtue. At the beginning, we have to make a conscious effort. We have to make it make a conscientious effort to practice in this way. And then gradually the tendency to respond in virtue and to not respond in non-virtue becomes stronger and stronger until it actually becomes automatic. But if we don't do the training, then it's the opposite. The automatic tendency is one of non-virtue or afflictive emotions. The afflictive emotions are very quick to kind of come up and to direct our activity, and that's just kind of an automatic response. So we have to retrain our mind. We have to retrain kind of a reprogram so that our response is rooted in virtue rather than non-virtue. No, they told me so. Sanjay don't you simple. Jimbe.
So inatini hoteli stand la ite karsena automatically inji minitela ko consola ko lamga gandona benanga sen console ke patra tela tini jigna de nyom ba pango ya ndo dong tini jigtela afford go yo mares be gewa do ya no wena tele jiko afford gewa do ya no jigda ti thonda so no tango yo mares ko automatic no gro is tini da thanda nga so jig nyamle ma la chai sari tini nga so nyom mo ban do cha hena de mo la so tele automatic do ji lem ko do hina gewa automatic do tu yo marwa tini da nga so nyamle chi ya se ya di ji ke chenbo de la ya ke jum sen thera wa.
So the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have that automatically because their mind streams are so purified that the automatic response is always one that is rooted in pure intention, love and compassion and bodhicitta. But because they have spent, they have walked the path of abandoning the afflictive emotions, making effort on the path, the practice of the 6 perfections and so forth, and practicing virtue, that it becomes the automatic, the kind of default way of moving through the world. Whereas until we've purified our mind streams, the default way of moving through the world is one that is reactive, that's based on anger, the afflictive emotions, anger, attachment, and unawareness.
That's interesting about the mind turning. That the Benangasoda, number Sanjibi Nyamne Chia, that was a 3 years to say, Lozon Samji Bigore, Sungiorwa, to Zungurio Sarwa, that 3 year divina, could they bring to reset to complete chagyo sarwa.
Reset.
Re.
That's all right.
어떻게니까 계승가서 트리에 maybe 이나야 그 daily practice 맞이나 그 research 해야 돼 가보여서 됐어.
So when we, for Buddhist practitioners who are really committed to mind training, for instance, the traditional path, for instance, might be like to do, in his case, he did the 3-year retreat. And for many who, do the 3-year retreat, the 3-year retreat becomes like an opportunity to go so deep into the practice that there's like a reset. A reset is literally what he said in English. But even if we don't do something so extreme like a 3-year retreat, still without consistent daily practice, to have a reset would be difficult to achieve.
However, they have benefits,
What's that? But whatever practice we do, even if it's not consistent daily practice, there's benefit always.
Okay. 디에다 단다디 가장 쉬우와 당가준 디나라 변나 차샤위나 단다 갑사발라 lying 와준 단다디 당가주 example 로지 당 according to the text 치요레스 디인드티네 가장 쉬우나 이리 다동티나로 조체고 랑라 강요와로 텔라티네 지올로야 recognize 오다 디게 준딘디 럽고도 삼바 어떤 대하고거나 고 티네 이팔라테 지올로야 대성당고 그래서
So what is written here in terms of lying and the different categories of lying, this is, these are the examples that are giving are according to the texts, the traditional teachings. But what we want to do, when we're reflecting, when we're contemplating, is to personalize it. So like actually think about your own situation, your own tendencies, your own life, and then recognize like ways where you might be, not being as honest as you could be, for instance, to recognize. So it's to apply the reflection in such a way that it affects or has the effect of recognition, and then the intention to make a change.
Okay, so we 10 minutes contemplation.
So we can
The line.
meditate contemplating.
So next one.
We have engaging in divisive speech. Of all the different kinds of divisive speech, the heaviest karmic negativity is accrued through divisive speech intended to divide the Sangha. Generally speaking, there are 4 categories of divisive speech. Speech that separates people by force, speech that separates people through sarcastic flattery, divisive speech that separates people by talking behind their backs, and I thought there were 4, no?
Oh, we're missing a 4th one. I think it's actually 3.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a
There are
mistake.
3 types of divisive
I
speech.
believe so, right? 3?
Force,
Yes.
sarcastic flattery, and talking behind their backs.
Yeah, 3.
Speech that separates people by force. This involves forcefully separating people by demand, forbidding them to spend time together or associate with one another. An example of this is the story of a young Indian couple. The young couple was very much in love, but both their families did not approve of the match and forced them to separate. The couple managed to save up money and hid it in a secret place with the plan to run away together. Someone found the hiding place and stole all the money. Just as they were ready to run off together, they went to the spot where the money was hidden and discovered it missing. They were so distraught and could not bear the thought of separation again, so they committed suicide together. It's like Romeo and Juliet here, no? A little bit.
Actually, it's a story that Drupon actually
I
witnessed.
was actually
He
I
there.
was in Almora, so actually I know those families too.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. There's a movie here.
So this sometimes there is I don't know these particular Indians. They are kind of the families, this generation, so this I think
Yeah, there's a big,
something
like the
little
caste
bit,
system. There's,
or
there's,
your yeah, I don't know.
so they,
But they actually same village, they grow up together, but how mystics start to separation, forceful is very tragic. So.
Speech that separates people through sarcastic flattery. This takes the form of a kind of mocking or backhanded flattery, made with the intention to shame someone or a group of people about being friends with someone else or a group of people, saying things like, "Oh, your friend is so smart and wonderful," or "What a rich and beautiful friend you found, you're so lucky." But you're being sarcastic with the intention to make your friend feel embarrassed about being friends with that person. Divisive speech that separates people by talking behind their backs. This kind of speech involves going to one person or a group of people and reporting or fabricating negative things said about them by another person or group of people, and then going to the other party and doing the same, encouraging both parties to feel offended and angry at one another. Regarding the 4 types of direct and residual karmic ripening in the context of divisive speech, A. With heavy karmic acts of divisive speech, the direct result is taking rebirth in the 3 lower realms, or being a victim of divisive speech yourself many times over and over the course of many lifetimes. B. The residual results that ripens as tendency is that in future lives you have a liking or impulse for divisive speech. C. The residual result that ripens as experience is that in future lives you experience being divided from loved ones and find it difficult to maintain harmonious relationships. D. The residual result that ripens in the form of environment is that in the future lives, you are born in places with rugged step cliffs, uneven ground, and places difficult to plant crops. Reflecting on the dangers of divisive speech, you can think, I am so fortunate because understanding the truth of karma, cause and effect, I have the opportunity to consciously apply myself in virtue and avoid non-virtue. Reflecting again and again on the faults and dangers of divisive speech, contemplate in a way that inspires you to take every opportunity you can to avoid the 10 non-virtues.
I think not only Buddhism, so we many religious, the Javachima Yore, no Laguyor Teledian, Laguyores. This not only this next love, Chagyomares, Benatandare, Kotsin Delayan, Leia Ochina, Jiu Tandaran Miata, Ko Ling Yamachina, Jiu Tandamiachi, Yores.
So, in Buddhism, we believe in past and future lives. Not just Buddhism, he said there are a number of traditions that believe in reincarnation. But with here, these mentioning these results, it's not just in future lives. There's a lot of karma that ripens immediately, a lot of karma that definitely ripens in this life. We can see the results of actions, the direct results very quickly often. So it's not just necessarily in the next life or future lives, but also we see the effects of our positive or negative actions in this life too.
Tiga na yitani konfiwa na yire ngato gewayina komgores. Ya megeyina komrogores. Tinita megewa da tambon go matso ngola. Megewa magia tapio kechembures tezungdoa karete jarse naula roa karse. Bonjomchi ba jarse laulai slauti karse gola.
Immediately applying the antidote. It's okay. Didn't allow chogdoa.
Or the OTT or Tambo go to do ne. Bena Tambo Zunlabu Yonare, Jekta, Komajara, Kasamo Tangi Yonare, Karchi and go to be Nekala, Tenet Samsha Gores. Bena Tematonga to Nyambala, Comdicha Grace. Tambo Zun Tambo Lavacala, this Hena or what is comfortable or in a Teneco Zun Jegla, Nilan, Teneco Zun, not big deal, Zumamala.
This requires really contemplating and meditating on the benefits of good conduct and the faults of negative conduct, and to the point where we really reflect and we meditate so that before we do the thing, before we say the thing, we're able to catch it and we're able to practice restraint. Just like it says in the 37 Bodhisattva practices, destroying afflictive emotions the moment they arise, or just before, there's an action, for instance, is the Bodhisattva's practice, immediately applying the antidote before it can kind of snowball into a situation of conduct and tendency. So he said that, when we, if we say at the beginning, if we lie about something, the first lie feels bad. We kind of know something is wrong when we say the thing. But then if we lie, and then the next lie becomes easier, and then the next lie becomes easier, and so it starts to feel like not such a big deal. So it's important to catch it before that tendency gets established, from the moment that it arises, just before, with the first action.
Tegana yike ta tesongre etenditile 제타닝가 좀 용몽바 탐보데 에다 해당인비나리 지 가리나야 텔라코 디스 누파 충요래 손에 누파 첨부 요 말이
Gandu?
베나 탐보 문용바 제베가라 베나 해당라고 탐보 제나 특zam지 누파 첨부 요 말이스 Yeah, okay.
Okay. So also the way that like negative mind states function is that when they first arise, they're a little bit weaker, and then they kind of, if they're given fuel, they get stronger. So when they first, like if anger, when it first arises, it's actually weaker and easier to address or to dispel or to apply the antidote. But if we wait a little bit and then that anger really builds momentum, it becomes much harder.
tinta tandan gozudune tene 다 용과 제베가 레로 요마와 임비 있나야 답이 쳐야 돼 through the mindfulness 쳐야 개침부레스 시토비아케
And so actually also, the practice correcting these tendencies at first is really not easy. So it does require effort and a lot of different approaches and methods maybe. At first it's might be quite difficult, but then when we gain some experience in doing this, it becomes easier and easier.
The worst part careers and your but increasing chiala not to excuse the chigures.
But the worst thing, and this is what's really tricky, is that what we tend to do when an affliction is increasing is we give it all sorts of excuses and reasons that justify it.
That in the inatini compound over this.
And then it definitely increases.
When that excuse object majiva chinita ko tande ranke nyomombate ta samhya thagi chigro
Got young chair.
tanda object mateani
So the way to work with this is to turn the focus from the object that's causing the affliction, like whatever object it is that's making you angry, and instead to turn the attention to the emotion. So to really just distance yourself from the object and look at the emotion itself.
that betenda ore ngato
The
kamba
object that he said, the object that's giving you the excuse.
so this kamba member kamba ro corner jela member yuna tati kome chungchung jing bar yuna ta lamsang sigo gro mase chine tati investigation o countries member bare sume barbare kare yung bare lon yung bare mu yung bare men yung bare lar barbare karchine tene chine tene kamba member ro
So it's really like the example of a house fire. So like when a house fire starts, it's small, there's a potential to put it out. If you wait a little bit, it quickly spreads and then your whole house is on fire. And so for that reason, it's said, there's a saying, you need to put the house fire out immediately rather than trying to investigate why the house is on fire. So if your house is on fire and then you're like, who started the fire? Where did it come from? Is it from the stove? Is it from the electricity? Did somebody do it? Is it a lighter, that started it? So if we're investigating why the house is on fire, instead of just putting the fire out, then it's going to get much bigger. So it's the same kind of thing.
okay
So then meditate
yeah meditate
Yeah.
yeah 10 minutes
for 10 minutes.
So, next one.
Engaging in harsh speech. Of all the different types of harsh speech, the heaviest karmic negativity is accrued by harsh, I'm going to get this wrong the whole time.
It's okay. Sorry.
Harsh speech spoken to your parents, spiritual teachers, or exalted beings. There are generally 3 categories of harsh speech: direct harsh speech, indirect harsh speech, via third parties. Direct harsh speech. This involves all kinds of direct, hurtful, unkind, and insulting harsh speech intended to hurt someone, such as meanly insulting someone to their face, shouting curse words at them, etc. Indirect harsh speech. This involves hurting or insulting someone with indirect speech through insinuation or by mocking them, making fun of someone by praising them for qualities they don't have, saying mean things and then claiming to be joking when you are actually intending to hurt their feelings. Via third parties. Hurting someone indirectly by criticizing them to someone else or spreading unflattering things about them through gossip. Regarding the 4 types of direct and residual karmic ripening in the context of harsh speech, A, with heavy karmic acts of divisive speech, the direct result is taking rebirth as an animal or being the recipient of harsh speech yourself many times over the course of many lifetimes. B, the residual result that ripens as tendency is that in future lives you have a liking or impulse for harsh speech. C, the residual result that ripens as experience is that in future lives you experience all sorts of unpleasant things, harsh words and unpleasant sounds. D, the residual result that ripens in the form of environment is that in future lives you are born in dry regions with limited resources, with lots of negativity and bad influences. Reflecting on the dangers of harsh speech, you can think, I am so fortunate because understanding the truth of karma, cause and effect, I have the opportunity to consciously apply myself in virtue and avoid non-virtue. Reflecting again and again on the faults and dangers of harsh speech, contemplate in a way that inspires you to take every opportunity you can to avoid the 10 non-virtues.
Okay, for 10 minutes.
Engaging in idle chatter. Of all the different kinds of idle chatter, the heaviest karmic negativity is accrued by engaging in idle chatter that becomes an obstacle to someone's Dharma practice. Idle chatter involves any sort of verbal expression of meaningless speech. Generally speaking, there are 3 categories of idle chatter. Idle chatter based on mistaken spiritual practices, ordinary idle chatter, truthful idle chatter. Idle chatter based on mistaken spiritual practices. This refers to incantations, mantras, spells, recitations, etc., rooted in mistaken belief systems, traditions of black magic, sorcery, and so on. Ordinary idle chatter. This refers to all the meaningless speech that is generated based on afflictive mind states of attachment, aversion, and ignorance. It includes conversations that are unnecessary, that often end up becoming a great waste of time. In the past, to engage in idle chatter required meeting in person, but these days there is a lot of idle chatter that happens virtually on the phone or online. Due to all our modern conveniences and technology, if someone wishes, they could be involved in idle chatter all day and all night. Truthful idle chatter. This refers to speaking at length about the Dharma, professing the qualities of the Buddha or a spiritual teacher, etc., to someone who is uninterested. The Buddhist tradition is one that does not believe in proselytizing. It shouldn't become our mission to convert everyone to Buddhism or to make them interested in the Dharma. Regarding the 4 types of direct and residual karmic ripening in the context of idle chatter, A. With heavy karmic acts of idle chatter, the direct result is taking rebirth as an animal or experiencing idle chatter as an obstacle to your practice yourself many times over the course of many lifetimes. B. The residual result that happens as tendency is that in future lives you have a liking or impulse for idle chatter. C. The residual result that ripens as experience is that in future lives your words don't carry any weight and people don't value much of what you have to say. D. The residual result that ripens in the form of environment is that in future lives you are born in areas where weather patterns are mixed up and unpredictable. Reflecting on the dangers of idle chatter, you can think, I am so fortunate because understanding the truth of karma, cause and effect, I have the opportunity to consciously apply myself in virtue and avoid non-virtue. Reflecting again and again on the faults and dangers of idle chatter, contemplate in a way that inspires you to take every opportunity you can to avoid the 10 non-virtues.
Thank you, Steve. Sunday heavy.
Heavy karma. Tikar siti pe hansaya mambo yona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now we less, okay? 5 minutes. So, do you have some questions or comments?
Can I ask a question?
Okay.
So if somebody engaged in a lot of the non-virtuous activity in their earlier life, and then they later in life no longer engage in that activity and are engaged in primarily virtuous actions, would the karmic result, and I understand this is very complicated and there's not like a clear, but like personally in my younger years, like lots of negative speech, lots of harsh speech. Now, like generally a lot of gentle, kind speech. I'm very, very conscious of this. But I'm wondering, I'm thinking about, and personally, I felt a lot of harm come to myself from that negative speech. So I, as I've gotten older, have worked a lot with that. So that comes up as a question, like what about all of that negativity much earlier in life? If there's been change around that, curious your response.
That interesting. Ngatan the zamno ji tang di yorwa. Karan zamno ji khori yoris. Tene tsami bileka. Lenga kashi ji zamno tang di banga. Tene leka chinge yoris tsami basina hansang yarwa. Hina tzo tsama la tene ko dikpa chang ro gurwa. Tanda gewa jobdi. Ko da jetang ga jeli do jesimbe na yori dikpa yaktang ro ina ta tanda ti ndrek ma song zamba da tene ti zamba tala ma ba cheg marwa. Wata dikpa ya ka tap theris ta ti top da te ga na ita ga so gewa cheg yori tene tene 다 대가나기 제 지나 지수밀에 그 남다도 통요지레스 티니다 제가 of course better ali la dikwa khaya mewa yuna yakbori hina yadati koyunya tende khaborwa tindita we lot of like practitioners the special practitioners zola ji 당보 고지 레로 튼 요사 말와 디파사기 요사리 묘총보 요사리 벤나 말바로 이나 테 말바 레로 요사 말와 코랑 파마나단 dimben데 파유레 샤나 야보잔 치사 마레스 다 텔레코 코랑 카와노나 지 땅샤나 약사리를 잡네 고 얘기를 봐 땅샤라와 No, this not before.
Okay.
Of course, the Loponje like Sanskrit hidden.
Ah, yeah. So yeah, this is like definitely an interesting and very good to bring this up because a lot of people, we have similar experiences with this. And Drupon says he's thought himself like a lot about just the power.
Just right now, I'm thinking about.
He would actually, when you just asked this, he was just thinking before. He was just thinking when we were contemplating, how there are the people. There are some who just accumulate incredibly heavy negative karma, like the 5 acts of immediate consequence, and how even. Gawo.
Something Tonde Deji Tans La Sobita, Bedic Pahansa Zanga Yorwa.
Something Gawo Senekungao or Gari?
Somebody or Gawo.
So there's like also, for instance, in the scriptures there's a quotation, citing all of these characters, like during the time of the Buddha, who really engaged in pretty intense negative actions before they met the Buddha, and then entered the path and actually became like arhats, like Angulimala, right? And there were others. And so, actually the power of purification is pretty extraordinary. There's almost nothing that can't be purified. When we, and there is nothing that can't be purified. And when we, enter the path of training and we're actively working on gathering the accumulations and purifying obscurations, there's a lot of purification that happens there. Also with, definitely all of the things that we have done in our early life and also in many previous lifetimes. So, for instance, Vajrasattva is such a powerful practice for purifying negativities, negative karma. And we have so many stories, like Milarepa, the example of the life story of Milarepa. Of course, it's better, if we, in our early life, if we've, done less negative, haven't accumulated a lot of negativity, but that's usually not the case, and it actually often, even especially for practitioners, there are stories, of how, like such a transformation in character, right? So whether, and also Marpa, for instance, Marpa was known to have been a really bad child, like in his youth, really bad, not well behaved. He was so problematic that his parents sent him away. They thought, oh, it's not good if he's around, in the area, we need to send him off to another place. And so they wrote a letter to get him, to go study with a, Sanskrit in a different place. So, so there are many stories like this, and definitely, the work that you're doing now, without a question, is purifying that past karma from your childhood and also from former lives. So he said, the moment we have just having regret is very powerful, and the extent of the purification that it can provide. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, he said, practicing virtue, definitely, we need not have any doubt about purification.
Drupon?
Yes.
My question was very similar to Alana's, but I'm saying, especially in the West, if you've ever been a parent, there may have been a situation where your children have been less than kind to you, mm-hmm. and been angry and said harsh things. But if they come back to you as they grow up, regretting that and appreciating that, wow, you were very patient with me, does that minimize their karma?
Pena rangi pugu be dinda sik nyemba be kale kapo yona yini yang lo chimpo chano o gongda nga chirang ama chirang la yapo chema song dinda la na dini kongso gi dikba nyuma chagi.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, yes. Okay, James. Hello.
Hi, Drupon. It's wonderful to see you. My question is a little bit technical, so I'll be hoping Virginia can assist. If I understood correctly, yesterday you gave an example where if you punch someone in the chest, the physical pain dissipates quickly, but it causes suffering in their mind. And I think you said that's what causes the karma. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes.
So my question is, in the teachings in
yeah, so he said, that when you punch someone, there's the physical pain there, that's the impact of the punch, but that goes away faster than the mental or emotional pain of having been punched.
Yeah, so here's my
Di le yang ki nuba yang di sim ki dunga de la tesa nuba tegiore sungma songe.
Yorwa.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then also the part about the karma.
So here's my question. The teachings always say that the object that the action is directed towards affects how heavy the karma is. But I'm wondering to myself, like, for example, Drupon, if I insulted you, right, someone who is like a Buddha, I think it would affect your mind very little. Whereas
Oh, I
if
see
I
what you're
insulted someone like myself, a confused being, then I would have all kinds of kleshas and disturbances. So it's not clear to me why, when negative actions are performed towards Aryas who I think will be unaffected by them, that the karma is so heavy.
Yeah, so di lagirawa pena le lavia de chi sungpa de la tene gayan sana kong pena chu ge drotang nanga tene nune chini de le chea nyunga ge jumsen gare yopa pena de yul so la ra le girawa tene yul pena tena de sanje rawo yana chirang rawo yoa yana Dini de dikpa chegyo rawa yena yang chi sungpa nang shin pena de mi de sim trukpa de la tene le tsuwo chagyo re lagyo rawa yena yang pena kongi sik nyemba chirang la la na chirang sanje yemba rawo gi jimsen la tene dini chirang la sim la shira nugama rawa dini de yena yang chi la sik nyemba la na de chu la samula thangna dini dikpa chegyo yini yang chi sem shara tugu marawa yini yang mi shimba kong rawo tsik ngimba la na dini simbe tugu rawa yini yang nuni chini yu gi chabar la tini dikpa nyungyo rawa dini kogyo be
Yeah, cool. That's a good question. Yina yang da di there is the relative level there is yula no bakasi tangba tezamje ke etini ko dikpa yungu yores tangbo jek terwa relative level.
Yeah, so, okay, yes. But also, if you, like on a relative level, if you're saying, like, for instance, if you're saying the object is the same of, like say at one level, like if on a relative level, if there's there's not the difference in the preciousness of the object, but like everybody's an ordinary being. And if you hurt somebody and that person gets over it faster or it's not as difficult, but then there's another person and you really cause them harm, it really hurts them, they hang on to it for a long time, that's worse karma than the other one. The nupa gatse tangna.
Nupa tangna notice. Yine two things I think we had some conclusion. So, ni yores. Jegna tanda object yuris you. You tell you what is you, right? What is you?
So on the one hand, also there's 2 points here. Like on the one hand, the karma is based on the karma that's accrued is based on the object.
Okay.
In both cases, they're the object.
Yeah. The indu ta jek de karsena choron la bana terita you tell kasi no but samje benanga ordinary na. Ordinary tela ko chik dubola ko nogrwa thike ta dikpa ma yores that ordinary sense.
So in the ordinary sense, like one way we can look at the object is who you're going to harm more. So if you're going to do something that's going to harm someone, like saying bad words or mean words, and that is going to really harm like one person more than another, then the object that is harmed more through your words is the heavier karma.
Tene yang ta je karsena chonala bana yiri object khorang la no batang thog mare ben sangje ro je la sangje yak bore lamna kola gag mare sangje du bore lamna konog marwa yina yang ti karsena ngatuk individual jula tene karsena deep ben ignorance ko sangje imba matsiwa rawa changjo simba tezonda changjo simba namla korwata 도미 딕션 잡아 드리더니 지 강사 찍라 지 계시 창조 선바 인비나 텔레콜라지다나 다 거지 가서 그래 biggest better negative channel 그러고 디 reason 가르서나 다 가서 줄 베 커너스 베 ignorance 첨보지 요레스.
But then on the other hand, what you're speaking to is the difference in object with regard to the qualities of the object. So if, for instance, like the worst negativity, the higher or the heavier negativity would be in insulting a Buddha, insulting a Bodhisattva. But to your point, yes, a Buddha doesn't care if you praise him or if you insult him. But what is the fault there is because of the depth of your ignorance, you don't see the qualities of the Buddha, you don't see the qualities of the Bodhisattva. So you're insulting the Bodhisattva, and it becomes a very strong negativity, a very strong non-virtue, where the strongest or heaviest non-virtue, as it says, that to denigrate a bodhisattva is, the incredibly negative. There's a very great negative accumulation of karma there. So yeah, there are those two things. Both things are correct.
That's good.
Oh, okay. Valerie, are you able to unmute?
Hi. First of all, I want to say thank you so much. I am so grateful to be a part of this and for your teachings. Thank you. And then I just had a comment. I'm in my 70s and I really like being older, except for the body hurts. But when we talk about harsh speech and unkind words, when I was younger, I was doing most of this to myself. And there was a tremendous amount of suffering because I was unkind to myself. And I really am thrilled when I see young people start this practice early, so that they can avoid these kinds of things happening. And that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Mo pena de nguma samlo thangna de pena de harsh speech pena samlo thangna dene rang tes sek ngimbala yorwa de yang nga be dukcha yen nga ya po mendo tenda be che yorwa dene di yang yin sigirebe dang chitang de yang dangbo ne ning tapa ne tuje chepe hansa ya po chebare la yorwa yini yang pena lo chung kin kongso de nyamling cheya sanje chu nyamling cheya go tsu pape hansa ya jesu yerangi yore kain sena pena mo lo chung yimba pena de yoa yena hansa ya pingare sangi yore.
Really, tadi chorang ke be yabore standardi common roa be yabore stin ta zo karsena ngazo re rang la ya nyipcho ta yo mares rang la ti rang ngone da ngazo ka ha ko re tenjor jumlu changdi yo re tini ngazo ya sanga ro na ngazo lu yidam khala re ngazo de indite tini re ta te ko tini che ya me o chon ha ko be yabores.
He said thank you for bringing that
you.
up, because it is equally important also not to be unkind or disparaging to yourself, because to denigrate oneself, when we instead there should be a real sense of appreciation for our incredible situation. We have a precious human life with all the leisures and endowments. And actually, our own body is the pure body of the Yidam deity. So in our true nature, we have the Buddha nature. Our nature is that of complete purity, and so therefore to denigrate ourselves that we don't want to do that. So he said, thank you for bringing that up, and that's really wonderful that you're reflecting on that.
제가 나기다 제바샤 요 말에서 가서 야 로충충이나 지나 야보레 이나 단다다 항상 야보레스 정말 로게나다 로충충나다 제바요 요 말에서 주시르.
And also what you mentioned, just expressing your appreciation, and, for young people who are entering into this path, it's wonderful. And it's wonderful at any age, really, like whether young, whether old, it's really such a precious thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, Michelle had her hand raised for a while, and Goldie posted one question in the chat.
Okay.
Sorry? Michelle? Oh, yeah.
Hi. I have a question going back to afflictive emotions, anger, jealousy, hatred, anxiety, and all that stuff. I wonder sometimes if there aren't really opportunities for growth and progression with these afflictive emotions. I know if we don't have the awareness or the skill, I guess maybe they can cause harm to others, but can't they be like a stepping stone or a catapult to help us? So like, for example, jealousy. If you experience jealousy, if you become aware of it, instead of reacting to it, you could start to contemplate and think, oh, well, why am I jealous? And start to feel it in your body, and then start asking yourself questions like, oh, well, why am I jealous? What is it that I see that this other person apparently might have that I don't have? And and how can I get, what do I have to do to get what they have? Also, like, going back to anger, if we don't, sometimes I think that if we didn't get angry, I'm losing the words. I'll give examples. Say Martin Luther King, he got angry, and all of his followers got angry because of racism. And if they didn't get angry and have skillful means with that anger, it helped them to change things. And we can even go back even further to Jesus when he was in the temple and he got angry, seriously angry about the change makers and all the things that they were doing in the church. And he went over there and he threw over the tables, and that was out of anger, and anger because they were doing things wrong and that weren't right. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I struggle with, and I can understand why there has to be some types of skill with these afflictive emotions, but I think some people, they will suppress these emotions. Mm-hmm. And when you suppress them, it causes even more harm to yourself, to the body, and then and damage to the body. And then when they finally erupt, like that last straw that hits the camel's back, it erupts, and then something really, really bad can happen. Instead of addressing them and allowing them and using skillful means to use those to make change, positive change.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, very good, this question. Peja kosam ina ta te teres ngato lam thangbo de penacha kha vina ta te chu yakso so so lam thangbo de la ngato nyom ba di ke ran la ka nge te gu bi jim sen de la de ne nyom ba pang gre se a yores. I think maybe abbreviation.
So he said that was very good. Thank you. He said he understood, and he's also just acknowledging that we're, now we've run out of time. But he said, at the beginning of the path, it's really important to have this regard of, recognizing the harm, the potential harm of the afflictive emotions, and wanting to purify them. To abandon them.
Tene nga zo lo cheren ro gres. Lo cheren ro be kabla tene tanda morang la bana yi nga zo nyong ba lam de chi chi de sanga ina ta nyong ba ta lam de chi ne ro pena ti nyong ba tele te ne gewe kuman ro wa rang li ya nu pan ro chi nyong ba ta du bo yin ba ro ma yin ba chi tene ti nyong ba tele te ne 거지 용문바 되게 계획구만 하고 용토바.
But as we become more advanced in our practice, there's a different way of relating to the afflictive emotions, and especially in the context of secret mantra, we actually really value, we're using the afflictive emotions like fuel. Where, there is this benefit, just like you mentioned, afflictive emotions, without the afflictive emotions, there's not the potential to transform the afflictive emotion. So it becomes the source or the fuel for virtue. So it actually incites us or helps to, bring us onto the path of virtue. So actually our virtue, our practice becomes supported by the afflictive emotions when we can skillfully use them and transform them.
제가 나이 다도 가서는 샘그 구노레스. 샘그 구노.
So it really comes down to the intention, of the mind, the intention, that's really what determines.
티인도다 벤나 마튼 루터 킹도이나 코 카르사나 코란 메마기 치도 미기 치도라테네 코란 다 공로 여지네 칸다 코란 사크리파이스 치고로와.
Like you mentioned. So you mentioned Dr. Martin Luther King. So he was motivated by, his intention was so much greater than himself. He was thinking about humanity at large and others, and the well-being of many people. And he, in fact, sacrificed himself for that purpose. So he made sacrifice he wasn't coming from a place of self-interest. He was really thinking of others. He's actually an example of a great bodhisattva. So there is... that the intention is what matters there.
So, during the cultural revelation, for the Tibetan people, for the Dharma,
So, and actually there were a lot of really realized masters and lamas, for instance, during the Cultural Revolution in Tibet, who actually took up arms. They actually fought, in the war for the sake of the Tibetan people, for the sake of the teachings, with the intention to protect the teachings. So there are examples of that, where the intention, is actually very pure.
Thank you. Okay, so now okay, I think we have already. You have coming afternoon?
Maybe can we do it in the afternoon? Because we're
already 20. What is that?
We're already 20 minutes over.
84?
Yeah, 12 12:19.
12:90, okay. If that's okay, yeah, you have a caution, that's okay. So then we can look up a coming letter. If not, honey. Okay,
All right.
yeah.
I don't know. Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Or come back, or either way.
Do you have
Okay.
It's a long, yeah, it's a long question.
It's a long question. We know.
Okay, save the question. Okay, now dedication. You know. Okay, so the dedication.
Okay.
Okay, page 24 in the prayer book. By the virtues collected in the three times, by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Drupon Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara.
Thank you. See you 2:20.
At 2:20, yeah, we'll come back.